This video is about barking behind fences or from within the home while the owner is out and about, or if they're potentially inside and distracted and the dog is outside by the front fence. Now, some people are blessed with dogs that just have the most amazing genetics, and when they're put into a home environment with a yard and even a busy street, they look around and they start to habituate to everything that keeps happening. People passing, dogs passing, neighborhood noises. They think, oh, that is normal, so I don't need to worry about that or even get excited by it because it's constantly happening all the time. And that's wonderful. But other dogs can, instead of habituate, they can start to sensitize. And that can mean that they're either continually getting excited and aroused by these goings-on that are happening all the time, or they're getting scared and having fearful reactions to them, or feeling startled and alerted all the time. So if you're living on a busy street and the dog is seeing people or dogs passing and they're barking at every single person or dog, they're not resting and they're on constant alert. And the problem with that is it can start to have behavioral side effects, and the dog can start to sensitize even more and start reacting to even more things. Honestly, I think that some people are just not noticing that their dog is doing it because it's happening when they're at work. So one of the most important things I suggest is if you are leaving your dog outside by a fence when you go to work, film your dog and see how much they are barking and how much they are awake and if they're getting any rest at all. Because what I've noticed is walking around my parents' neighborhood, the same dogs, when I see them with their owners being walked, their owner looks quite shocked when the dogs suddenly start lunging and barking at other dogs on the walk. And I'll even see them trying to train their dogs with treats and be really kind. But honestly, that is just a pointless activity if your dog is going to be outside of a gate lunging and barking at dogs passing. You're undoing every single part of your training when the dog is left to worry or get overexcited at the gate or when home alone. So the key is working on the triggers when your dog is at the gate and inside the house, and then until the training is complete, to prevent exposure to these triggers when you're not around to give your dog information. So I do have articles on how to teach your dog to be in a backyard, and I also have an article on dogs reacting to noises of passers-by, and I'll link those in the description below. But what really needs to happen is that your dog needs to look to you for guidance as to what is a threat and what isn't, and trust you when you tell them that's not a threat, that's the neighbor putting his trash out, no big deal. So by really helping your dog understand what are potential threats if you were going to need that, most people don't need that. Dogs will naturally know when something's out of the ordinary, and so you don't even have to train for that, but definitely building a relationship with your dog, building trust with your dog, and teaching them that these things are not threats at all, and they don't need to get excited about them, and they don't need to worry about them. So yes, it's beneficial to do that on a walk, but also you can sit in front of your own gate and practice with friends, family, decoy dogs, you name it, and practice setups where the dog is learning that things that pass by, dogs that pass by, it's no big deal. And by getting people to help you, you can get your dog to habituate because the person can keep coming and going, where it's much more difficult if you're in a neighborhood where things randomly happen hours apart. That can really help with the dog sensitizing to, whoa, that was scary, and then they're gone. So by seeing a person that they know and they like walk past your gate back and forth, and you're telling them good and reinforcing them, and for me, I like to say it's just the neighbor. So if the dog ever looks worried inside the house, I'll just say that's just the neighbor. And I've even used that for when there was a thunderstorm and the whole house shook and everybody looked at me, and I was like, oh, that's the neighbor, you don't have to worry about that. And they're like, oh, okay. They must have thought he was like driving a big truck or something. I don't know what they were thinking, but they were like, oh, Emily says it's the neighbor, so it's fine. But when dogs are left to worry on their own, that's when things can go badly, and that's when things can unravel, and you can get a dog that just gets more and more stressed and more behavioral issues because they're left to figure everything out on their own in this strange world that we've created for them.